Hello everybody, welcome to the new session. Today we are looking about the cerebellum. In the primary classes, you may familiar with the topic cerebellum, and it is one of the common topic in the area of the brain. In this session, we are going to look at the basics of the cerebellum, its location, its functions, and all things. So basically, the cerebellum is also called a little brain. In the Latin word, it is the cerebellum means little brain. As in the picture, you can see that the cerebellum is the smallest portion in the brain. You may please compare that cerebellum and other brain part regions. When compared to the other parts, the cerebellum is very little. That's why it's that name comes cerebellum. That means little brain. The cerebellum has various function, even though the major function or the cerebellum is very well known about the functions of the motor control and motor movements. And we will discuss about the motor functions of the cerebellum. And when it comes to the location, as in the picture, it is seen that the cerebellum is located behind the brainstem. You can see that brainstem, that stem-like region adjacent to the cerebellum is called the brainstem, and the uh, cerebellum is located at the behind of the brainstem. And also we know that the brain is divided at anterior part, posterior part, and like that. When comes to such part, such division, we can say that the cerebellum is at the back and bottom of brain. That means it is at the back side and also back side bottom. Bottom back, we can call it like that, bottom back of the brain and behind the brainstem. That's a location of cerebellum, and cerebellum is very much important or playing an important role in the cognitive functions like attention and language, and also emotional functions like fear and pressure response. These all are associated with the cerebellum. And also the movement related function, as I mentioned earlier, the movement related function is very much important in the case of the cerebellum. When it comes to the motor functions, actually the cerebellum is not initiating any movement. That means the cerebellum is not responsible for our any movements, any kind of movements. The cerebellum is not responsible, not solely responsible by the cerebellum. Rather, it contributes to the coordination, precision, and accurate timing of the movement. That means it's just tuning the functions, or simply we can that the cerebellum receive inputs from the sensory systems, and sensory system then goes to the brain, and then cerebellum reaches the cerebellum, and after that all the sensory informations are integrated and resulting for the fine-tuned motor activity. That means small movements were created by the cerebellum, and that's play a important role for the overall movement. Actually, the total movement or the complete movement of a person is not based on the function of the cerebellum. But the cerebellum support in the case of the fine-tuned motor activity. And also, as we said, it is responsible in the fine-tuned motor activity. It's not cause for the paralysis. Even though the cerebellum is associated with the motor movements, as we said, it's not initiating any movement. It's just integrate the inputs to create fine-tuned motor activity. That's why the damage to the cerebellum doesn't cause any paralysis, but rather it produces some disorders in fine movement, equilibrium, postures, and motor learning that determined by these small movements. That's why we are saying there is no paralysis when if cerebellum is damaged or removed, but the produce a disorders or in the fine movement or equilibrium, like that. The cerebellum is also called as the silent area of the brain. That means even though the electrical excitation in the cerebellum not result in conscious sensation. That means we doesn't feel any changes or conscious sensation in our body by the excitation by the electrical activities in the cerebellum. It rarely cause any motor movement, even though it's contributing to the fine movement. It sometimes rarely cause for some motor movements, and also it is very vital in the rapid muscular activities. The rapid muscular activities means when we are running, when we are typing, when we are playing, and even when we are talking. It needs a rapid muscular activities. In such case, the cerebellum plays a very vital role in that, and the removal of the cerebellum causes no abnormal movement. Suppose if somebody remove his or her cerebellum, there show no abnormal movements, but there is some trouble or non-coordination in the rapid muscular activities. That means the running is not blocked, or the running is not damaged, but the coordination of the running will be affected. That means the person still can run, but the completeness of the run or the perfect running cannot be possible, because the coordination between that muscular activity or rapid muscular activity is damaged, but the overall movement is not damaged. That's an important factor we have to note down when studying about the cerebellum and its motor function. The cerebellum is continuously updating. It's just like the mobile phones recently launching. They are updating every day. Just like the cerebellum is updating in each and every moment. They receive a continuous update from the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system and other body parts. Then it compare with the actual movement with peripheral sensory feedback. They comparing whether this kind of movement is enough for perform such task, such and such tasks, etc. And if that performance is not necessary, or it's a little bit high, they reduce it. And if the particular performance is not necessary, we need to increase our performance or increase our activity, then the cerebellum will enact to do that. In that case, they constantly compare the actual movement with the peripheral sensory feedback, and constantly changing the intensity of the actions according to the need of the body. And this is all for the basics of the cerebellum. Today we are just discussed about the functions of cerebellum and the structure and location of the cerebellum. We will go deep into the cerebellum in the next sessions. See you soon. Thank you.